This segment of the Bass Kayak and Beers podcast is supported in part by Douglas Outdoors, serious rods for serious anglers. Go to douglasoutdoors.com and check out their new lineup of Era rods that retail under $100. Norsk Lithium, the lithium battery that you need is just a click away. Go to northlithium.com and check out some of the lightest lithium batteries in the market with the best warranty in the business. Mariner Sales, located in the heart of the DFW Metroplex, Mariner Sales has the largest inventory of kayak and kayak accessories in North Texas. You can also shop online at marinersales.com. What is going on, everyone? Welcome once again to the Bass Kayak and Beers podcast. This is the real life. As always, it's your boy Armando. And give me a second here while I try to share this. For whatever reason, my computer is a little bit slower today. But hope everybody's having a great week. First of all, I do have a new video on my YouTube channel. I made this video because I see comments a lot about the difference between trying to reel in or horse in your fish versus working your fish, tying it out. And I wanted to make a little video about that. So if you want to go to my YouTube channel, check the video out. It's the latest video. It says title is Reel In Like a Pro. So I thought it was interesting. It really breaks down the differences of when is it that you should definitely try to horse in your fish and get it in as soon as possible versus circumstances where you're better off just tiring your fish out and you working it and then being patient and bringing it on board. There's certain circumstances that I think one or the other would be a better fit versus just the traditional mentality of like just work your fish, be patient, and tire it out and then bring it on board. It's not always a cookie cutter decision. But anyways, you can go check out the video. If you're joining us for the first time, watching this live show for the first time, we do have a live show every Thursdays with a special guest. Generally, we talk about tournaments, life in general, just have fun conversations. And then we also have the Advanced Kayak Angler, which is a podcast that streams on every podcast streaming platform out there. It's called Bass Kayak and Beers, and it's titled the Advanced Kayak Angler. It airs every Wednesday morning, and that is with your host, Kurt Smith, where he talks about techniques, baits, seasonal fishing. It's really more of a teaching video, instructional video on podcasts, I should say, on different areas of bass fishing, sometimes catfishing, striper fishing, saltwater fishing, everything that has to do pretty much with a kayak. So you can check those episodes out. Again, it's Bass Kayak and Beers under any streaming platform. You can also follow us on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram. Also, speaking of sponsors, Douglas Rod is having an overstock sale. There's like 20 or 30 different models. They're up for sale, 30% off. Free shipping. Go check it out, douglasoutdoors.com. There should be a tab that says overstocks, and you can order online, pay online, and free shipping. So go check it out. Definitely recommend it. Some good sales. If you're looking to get into a new rod setup, go check them out, douglasoutdoors.com. So without further ado, let's bring our guest in for today, Mr. Drew Gregory.
What's up, Armando?
Buddy, I don't know what you're gonna do for the next time you're on the show, but every time I see you, you are more and more cluttered with trophies. Next time I see you, it's just gonna be your eyes just popping out and trophies and giant checks all around you.
It's ridiculous. It's getting pretty ridiculous. I mean, I'm not complaining, but it's getting a little bit insane over here. But it's a good problem to have, and if you're gonna have a problem, this is the one you want. Trust me.
Not enough room, right? Hey, with those checks, maybe you can buy a bigger house or make a bigger man cave. I don't know, whatever you want.
Go. Yeah.
But congratulations, man. First win of the season in the first national trail stop at the Bassmaster Kayak Series, Lake Havasu in Arizona. How does that feel?
Yeah, I mean, it's man, it never gets old, but it also never gets surprised. Like I'm still surprised. You know what I mean? Always surprised that I win, even though I know people probably look and see I've won a lot. So why am I surprised? But it's bass fishing is hard, man. It's hard. It's someone's got to win, but it's usually they barely win, and even for them it may be challenging. Usually is not always. I guess sometimes you just land on a magical school, but it was a grind out there. You guys saw the leaderboard. It was tough just to catch 5.
Yeah.
And so, I caught my last one with 20 minutes to go. So we might get into that a little bit. And, so I'm just still shocked that all those good anglers out there, the locals who know that water so well, that are really good anglers, that I won. So that's kind of how it feels. It still feels shocked, that it happened. So you never know when your last win's going to happen. You never know when your first win's going to happen. A lot of you guys out there are looking for that first one. And I promise you, it's, you keep going long enough, hard enough, and it'll be your time.
Yep, definitely have to put in the work. And I mean, you've done this for years. It's not like you woke up out of bed one day and decided to win tournaments. You've been doing this for so long. You had what was it? The Wild Waters?
Yeah, I mean, I really focused on tournaments. Yeah, I hosted Hooked on Wild Waters
back on Wild Waters. That's
in
like
the
was, yeah.
2000, the teens, whatever, 2000. What do you say, the 2000s, the teens? Like not the 2010s.
Getting old, man.
I know you call the 2000s, but then I don't know.
The late 2000s, I would say.
Yeah, I don't know. But that's when I had that
2010s.
Yeah, I mean, that's right. The 2010s. I was, doing that show. I traveled around, but I've been fishing all my life, but tournaments really became something I focused on when the national level events. It really went when Matt Ball won the KBF National Championship and he won it out of the boat I designed for Jackson Kayak. I was like, oh, what? He won how much money? And I wasn't like a big tournament guy. I just like got into a kayak because it was the best tool to fish the wild places that I love to fish that the bass boat can't go. So that's why I got into it. It wasn't like tournaments. They weren't around. They weren't big ones, but all of a sudden he wins that money and then he wins out of my signature series boat. So I was like, oh, next year I'm going to go to that tournament. And I fished the open division and got like, I don't know, it was like top 10 or 15. And that qualified me for the next year's national championship, not the open division, the actual championship. But I didn't fish any tournaments in between that time, a whole year. And I got like 5th in that one or something. And then it qualified me for the next one. But the next year I said, that was back when John Hipsher was with Yak Attack. He said, Hooked on Wild Waters is cool. That show you do, your TV show you host, I love that show. But you know what? You could probably, with how good you seem to be at these tournaments, you could probably just focus on that and get us as a sponsor and all your sponsors as good of ROI, if not better, if that seems to be how good you are at these tournaments. And I was like, that's pretty cool actually idea, because it's more fun to fish a tournament than it is to host a TV show. I promise you, because you have to worry about the camera boat and the lighting and what they're doing. And you're not just fishing like free, you know what I mean? Whatever I want to do, I can't just go wherever. I have to do talking points and I catch a fish. Now we got to set up and do all these talking stuff and this underwater release. It's a whole production and it's not as fun. I mean, it's cool when it's all edited and you guys get to watch it, but personally for me, it's not as fun. So I was like, hey, good idea, John. And ever since then, since basically 2019, right before COVID, I might have fished like 4 events, and I fished in that FLW KBF, championship over there with the final FLW Cup, and got like, I was on stage there. I think I got like 7th or 8th place, and then 2020 we had COVID, but I still fished enough to win the AOI for Hobie, and then kind of the rest is history. I just kept fishing tournaments and learning, getting a better system down on how to practice, pre-fish, do online study and research and the tools to use. And it's just kind of wild, man. Wild ride that since basically 2020, I think I've won 10 events now. I'm up to 10 and 2 AOIs. And I just feel like God has blessed me with just understanding this fish. And I just wish everybody out here listening could feel it one time, to win this, because it's awesome. And, I'm still going to try my hardest, but I'm going to be really happy for those who, do get to win this year, because it's special. It really is.
It is. And you make it look easy, man, for real. But let's talk. So before we dive in, we're going to, for those that are watching live, if you have any questions about Drew Gregory's performance at Lake Havasu, the tournament he just won for the Bass Master Kayak Series, we're going to go dive into that in a little bit. But I wanted to talk about your kayak adventure series. You have
Yeah.
not finally, because it's only your second year, right? So we didn't have to wait that long. But you do have a trail coming up here in Texas, the Paris Reel Fest. Tell us about that. I know there's some rule changes and some changes to the the days that we're going to be on the water and all that. So tell us about the Paris Reel Fest.
Yeah, man, pull in that screen if you want. I'm sharing the event page on kayakadventureseries.com. So we wanted to get to Texas, like you said. It's obviously one of the meccas for bass fishing in the country. So we figured what a better time to do it than piggybacking on the Bassmaster Classic when everyone's already going to be there. Whether you're there for the Bassmaster Kayak Series Championship like I am, and on fishing that Wednesday and Thursday, and hopefully on stage on Friday again, right? Hopefully. But and then, obviously Friday, Saturday, Sunday is the Classic. So if you're not there to fish the Bassmaster Kayak Series Championship, maybe you come in, you fish Wednesday, Thursday in the waters that are in balance for this Paris Reel Fest event, or maybe you fish Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I don't know. In some of those days you go to the Classic Expo and you experience the weigh-in and all that. But let's face it, it's more fun to be fishing than to watch fishing on TV or be at an expo, especially when you've seen it and done it one day. So the idea is you come in, you experience the Classic whenever you want, whatever day. The other days you practice for Paris Reel Fest. You get 4 days maximum of pre-fishing for Kayak Adventure Series events. And it's only an hour from Lake Fork. So if you're fishing that Bassmaster Kayak Series Championship and you've already seen the whole thing at the Classic, which is 2.5 hours further west in Fort Worth, just drive an hour north, get your campground, go set up at Honey Grove or Hidden Grove. I can't remember what the name of it. It's either Hidden Grove or Honey Grove. We can look down at the information here and find out. But it's somewhere on here. I don't know, but it's a campground that's our official, it's our official campground. So let's see. And then you'll fish the event possibly to win $10,000 for our GoPro guarantee. But basically, our awards are here at this Plaza Theater in downtown. It's a one-day shootout, March 23rd. And we did that so that if you are in the Bassmaster Kayak Series Championship and that event ends on Thursday, you can practice Friday and Saturday, or just one of those days. But then those of you obviously who aren't going or fishing that event could choose whenever. But we knew that if we made the event, originally it was scheduled for the 29th, then the following weekend, but Texas Bass Nation has an event on Caddo, and we wanted to deconflict from them. And Armando, people fishing that Bassmaster Championship, they're going to be in on like March 15th, pre-fishing early on that Saturday. Yep. So it's kind of hard to ask someone to stay for Saturday, March 15th, all the way to March like 28th and 29th or 29th and 30th, whatever it used to be. So we just moved it up to that Sunday of the Bassmaster Classic. And in this Plaza Theater, when we're holding our awards here, we're going to pipe in the Bassmaster Classic when it's that crowning moment down to the last few anglers. We're going to all watch it there together, whether it's right in the middle of our awards or right after. I don't know exactly when the timing will work out, but we'll be in there when that's all going down. So we all get to kind of experience it together and in comfortable seats, concessions, food, drinks. And of course, we got to all fish that day for potentially $10,000 if you're filming with the GoPro and you hit that GoPro guarantee, which just take a GoPro like this one. This is a Hero 12, but it doesn't matter which one it is. Any GoPro, it's all that matters. And just submit 2 of your 5 fish to us on the website here. We got a tab that says submit, upload photo video right here. That's all you got to do is upload your trimmed down clip, your minute and a half, however long it is, 45 seconds. Just submit that, catch 2 of them and 2 of your 5 fish, and you'll qualify for your payout to get bumped up from whatever it should have been, like $6,000, let's say, up to 10. So it's really cool because it also helps validate our sport. Nobody can question, anything about the fish or you and question your characters. Like you got it on camera. So it's actually a nice bonus. You get paid more and we all get to see the action, which is exciting. But this is all the information, guys. There's a 2-man team division as well you can register for. There's the micro bag division, which is your smallest 5. Just click on the register buttons here. Actually, I got to make those buttons. Yeah, they're live, I think. They're all on Tourney X. And North Texas Kayak Series, they're actually going to hold a joint event as well, so you can sign up for that one. And there's you guys can look at all this information on the website, but it's going to be fun. I'm excited for it, guys. Our check-in and registration, late registration, will be on Saturday evening at the Holiday Inn Express there. So we will meet up there and have a good time with a one-day shootout. And as you can see, this map shows you your eligible water. As most kayak adventure series, we allow lakes and rivers. Obviously, the hubbub on the street is all about, the lakes are going to win in Texas. So what everyone's saying. So we only have 2 rivers in play anyway. But all those blue marks right there are the lakes. All the boat ramp symbols are lakes. And the Lake Boat Arc, the new one, is the one I think people are, really excited about fishing.
Yep.
So that one's good. You got all these other ones in play. They're smaller. So we get to highlight a lot of these kayak friendly waters, right? And that's pretty cool to be able to highlight a lot of this different stuff, the smaller stuff. Some of it's only horsepower restricted or electric only. And, it's why we have a kayak to go into those kind of places. So our format is sort of like a new puzzle, a new game to figure out. I'm going to fish the Kissimmee chain, right? Like literally a week and a half. I'll be down at the Kissimmee chain for the next Bassmaster. Well, there's 8 or 9 lakes, 7, 8 or 9 lakes in the Kissimmee chain. There's no way you can practice all those lakes. You got to pick, you got to use your online research and your satellite image, your Navionics, whatever you use, Omnia Pro app, get that kind of stuff. Your style. Your style. You got a style of fishing. I got a style. I know me and my personality. So no matter where you go, if it's like Gunnersville, Harris Chain, Kissimmee Chain, Lake Fork, it doesn't matter. You all know your styles. You can't fish all the lake. You can't fish all Lake Gunnersville in practice. You've got to already narrow it down via online research. And our format with Kayak Adventure Series is letting the anglers fish pretty much any public water. We'll mark them, like we did, within an hour driving time, according to Google Maps driving time, just to get you guys back to our festival, the theater, all the fun, So we allow all the different lakes, and you guys, and I'm hoping that's going to allow vehicle sponsors, trucks, to really get involved, because our trucks are critical in the sport to move places, just like the outboard is critical for the bass boat. So it's a new game. It's a new puzzle. It's not like it's never been done in kayak fishing. Look at KBF at Shreveport, 5 lakes, national championship. Look at even last year Bassmaster at Shreveport, Caddo, Bissino. Look at, there's other examples of places we've gone before where it's choose your lakes. Hobie, BOS. You got Wolf and Fox rivers, right? They just pick the Wolf, they pick the Fox. Those are both close there. Which one are you going to do, right? So it's not any different. It's just we have a few more usually, and it's a new puzzle and game for you guys to solve and figure out. And it's exciting, man. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, no, I like the format. It is different. And I think more strategy is kind of like, a little bit more thought into strategy. We were talking about it on your live show when you were promoting it. It's like, do I want to fish an area where there's more spread out, like Boat Arc, and or do I, and you have more space to myself, or do I want to fish one of those little small lakes that fish are more easier to catch, but
right,
you're gonna have to share that spot with 5 or 10 people,
possibly,
which really, it's kind of like different strategies, and we don't know which one's gonna work best until lines out. But
it's true, man.
Couple of comments here on Instagram. Fishing Girl 94 says, "Hey Drew, what's up?" We also got a couple of questions. Lawrence Martinez has a question about the Havasu event. We will touch into that in a little bit. Lawrence, hang on with us. But yes, definitely, if you have any questions for Drew about the Kayak Adventure Series, we can answer those now. If you have something about Lake Havasu, questions about his tournament, you can post those questions as well. We'll get into those in a little bit. So what went into the decision of the Paris Reel Fest? Because first of all, let me say congratulations on the idea. It's a great spot. It's so many areas to fish there around. I think that area of Northeast Texas, I should say, is kind of underrated. Great fishing area, fishing lakes, and just a whole bunch of lakes you can fish around that area.
For sure, man. It's a little closer to that Oklahoma, Arkansas, Missouri contingent. And there's a lot of great anglers there, and they experienced our event in the Ozarks last year, or right on the gateway to the Ozarks in Poplar Bluff. And that was called Ozarkana. So we thought, some of those anglers can come, and a lot of those anglers from that area and region, which is hotspot for bass fishing are going to come to the Classic. It's, they may come to the Classic. It's people that live, 4, 5, 6 hours away are like, oh man, this is a Classic that's close enough to me where I'm going to go make a weekend trip out of it. So now it's like they got a real reason to come. 2 good reasons, right? Paris Reel Fest and the Classic, and maybe for some people 3, because you got the Bassmaster Kayak Series Championship they may be qualified for. And then actually 4 reasons, because if you want to, on your way home, you could go fish on March 29th. You could fish that Caddo tournament for East Texas and the Texas Bass Nation joint event, I think, over there. So, I mean, it was just in this right spot where it's still close enough to that Classic, a couple hours away from that Bassmaster Classic, that I thought we could probably pull it off. And I didn't want to start in doing a Texas event so far, like Austin or somewhere way Opossum Kingdom, somewhere that's so far further that way, because you're just not going to get a lot of those anglers in Texas that are going to fish that event and then fish any others. But I would say that there's a chance of some folks from Texas do good in this event. It's the second one. Our AOY is just 2 regular season events. That's it. That's all you do is fish 2 of the 6 regular season and then combine that with our finale. So if you're in Texas, you fish this event, you do good, go up straight north. If you've always wanted to catch a giant smallmouth in the upper Mississippi River, that's still a haul. I get it. Or go over to Ohio or to that one in the great Midwest of us, or come to Florida. You get to kick off the season with us at Ocala-Palooza in Florida. Either way, you just need to get 2 in, and then that combines with that finale, and there's a $10,000 AOY prize. So it's worth following along and fishing some of these destinations. But once we see how this works at Texas and we get the trust of the anglers, I want to go to places that are a little further away and like really unique and special, like the upper Mississippi River in St. Cloud, where we're going, where Josh Shrinko, from Smalley Talk, Ashiga, won Bassmaster in the Susky 2 years ago. He literally says he's fished it. So is Jeff Little. And Josh says, dude, there's a chance when people get up there and they actually experience this for themselves, they're going to think the Susquehanna River looks like trash compared to this place. That's insane statement. I mean, it's insane. Yeah. Obviously he's being like a little bit, facetious, but it's, in his opinion, it's much better than the Susquehanna. We all know how good the Susquehanna is. So I would think, considering you only live one time in your life, what other time for someone in Texas or wherever you live in this country are you ever going to have a reason, an excuse to go to the upper Mississippi River and fish it? Come up there with us with the Kayak Adventure Series presented by GoPro. Let's have a big party together. Let's catch 100 inches of smallmouth, and you will never regret that in your entire life. Never. So that's the goal, man. Let's go. So anyway, I want to get to some other lakes in Texas, and some that I don't know. Lake Bodark is obviously the hot new lake too. That's one of the main reasons we're there. It may even get better in the next coming years, but they're already catching giants. So we wanted to be one of the first trails that just fished it. And then let's see, maybe if it's good, Bassmaster goes back there the next year or 2. And that's great. We want to help scope and help make some new, Lake Forks, but Susquehannas for the kayak fishing tournament circuit world. Find some new cool places. And this could be one. We'll see.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I'm excited about it. I hope to take part in that one as well as the Caddo event. So, thank you for bringing this trail over here. It's definitely different, the Kayak Adventure Series. So it's the format, the aspect of putting the fun back into fishing. I think it's pretty cool. And I'm excited to fish it for the first time. So, you've had success last year. It's up to a great start this year, and hopefully it'll continue. So congratulations on that, man. It's an amazing job you've done with the Kayak Adventure Series for sure.
Thanks, buddy. I appreciate it. And the last thing I'll mention on it, what you said about different format, just so everyone knows, we allow, we're very welcoming, not that anyone else isn't, but we're just very, very welcoming of all styles of fishing, all brands. We've got 6 kayak manufacturers that sponsor us, and we raffle off one of their kayaks at every event to raise money for autism awareness through the Autism Anglers group this year. Last year, we raised money for pediatric cancer and ended up one event raising some money for the hurricane victims. But it's a different format. We do allow, obviously motors. We allow all the electronics you can use. You can live scope. You can do all that. But you can also just bring 3 rods and a little lightweight kayak and drop it off the bridge. If you can do it publicly, legally, right, on any given Saturday and Sunday to kayak fish. And that's why so many people did get into a kayak, because you could drop it in anywhere and all these cool places and that are public waters. We just want to highlight all the different styles and formats and the diversity of each of us, no matter if we're big, small, tall, whatever, colors of our skin, doesn't matter. If you're spastic and just ADHD like me, then great. If you want to sit there and soak a Ned rig all day instead, awesome. We're so welcoming of anyone and everyone, and just want to bring people together and have fun. We allow portaging. If you want to get out, if you're not comfortable running a rapid or going under a log, if you don't feel safe doing it, just get out. You can do that legally on any Saturday and Sunday. So why not do it in these events? We just want to encourage you guys to film your adventures. We'll put them up on the big screen on the theater and have a lot of fun. It's just 5 fish over a day and a half of fishing. It's usually not at the Paris Reel Fest, but usually every other event is Friday afternoon and Saturday, full day Saturday. Friday afternoon is a cool thing. Gives you a weekday, gives you an afternoon bite. Not as many locals on the waters, and gives you just a new strategy, new wrinkle, right, in the whole thing. And then on Friday, on Thursday, we actually have check-in and registration. But Friday morning, before you fish the afternoon, we do something called the Bass U Brunch, which is seminars from pros. Whether it's kayak pros or boat pros, we're gonna have some seminars by them, and you'll learn some cool stuff. And then it's just all about fellowship, camaraderie. We have a festival that happens before. Your line's out is 3:00. We have a festival from 3 to about 5:30 before we go into the theater for the awards, and then afterwards it's a big after party. So, and it's because no reason to not come back. It's just Saturday. It's not Sunday. We don't got to get back to work on Monday. It's easier for people to take off work on Friday, and that's why we have that format. And then we can all fellowship together and party the night away on Saturday, drive home, sleep in, drive home on Sunday, and it's worked out so far. People love it, and I just hope you guys will come to the event and have fun with us.
Definitely. Shout out to Big Mario's Fishing Experience up in New York. Says it's freezing and fishing is slow. Also, super new F-71. Congratulations to Gregory. So let's talk about your big win at Lake Havasu. I wanted to, well, first of all, let's go with some of the questions. I got Lawrence Martin says, Drew, we heard, let me post this question. We heard you fish without forward-facing sonar, which pretty much you always do. Got any tips or thoughts, process to share that went into that? Yeah, talked about that because you and I think Jordan Marshall didn't have a forward-facing sonar up until, or not even forward-facing. They didn't even have a fish finder up until I think like 2 seasons ago. So you and Jordan Marshall are the ones that come to mind when you think about, you really don't need super expensive electronics. Jordan Marshall has won AOY on Hobie BOS without even using a fish finder. What type of technology do you use?
And I was second that year in AOI. He won, but I didn't make the
top two.
My daughter was born. It didn't even get a chance to defend my AOI from 2020 with Hobie. So Jordan and I were both up there, and who knows what would happen if I would have, won or not. But it's no fault of his, obviously. But the point is, to what you're saying, neither one of us had fish finders that year, and so it's still possible in the kayak fishing world to do it. But to answer Lawrence's question, and I see Justin Largent has one we want to answer there too. But to answer Lawrence's question, I don't use a fish finder, and the best tip I can give you guys, obviously, is that you've turned yourself in automatically, and it's kind of a good little sneaky secret. You've already eliminated a lot of the lake and a lot of the water that you can really fish without a fish finder and have success, which means you're not wasting a lot of time or spinning out on. You're very limited to what you can search and actually fish and pre-fishing, because there's a lot of open water in these lakes and there's a lot of bass out there. So, but you're not going to worry about those because you're not going to be able to find those. It's going to be really hard to find those fish without, electronics. So that limits you to fish like I do, your rivers, your creeks, your backwaters, your shallow water fishermen, or you can still fish the lake, because bass boats, they have limitations on the lake. They cannot go under dock, walkways. They can't go under shallow trees and limbs. They can't get into certain casts. They can't get to the casts that you guys can. So if you fish the lake, and I've done that before and had success, I won Grand Lake on the main lake. And I was positioning my kayak and fishing in a way that I don't think a bass boat ever could have done. Possum Kingdom, I did not have a good tournament, but that's because I lost a couple big fish. But I had some good success going right on the bank with like a Chapo, tight as I could, and just covering so much water, going underneath docks and just running the bank in that super shallow, like 2-3 feet of water. And the bass boats don't make all those casts. They can't get to that kind of stuff. So Lawrence, that's the answer, man. You got to turn yourself into just a shallow water River Creek backwater fishermen and forget about all the rest of the lake, which I kind of think is a good thing.
Yep. It simplifies things.
Yeah.
So Justin says, does anybody else have more than
know this,
two
Justin.
Bass Kayak Series wins?
I know it. I know the answer.
Also, the weekly, what is it? The weekly kayak
fishing weekly.
Kayak fishing weekly.
That comes out. He texted me. I think it comes out tomorrow, maybe, or something. I don't know. It's going to be up soon. I just did one with Justin, I think yesterday. So,
I beat him to Justin. I beat you to it, Justin.
Sorry, yeah, because you're live here, so we weren't live.
Nah,
but
go listen to Justin podcast. Well, Kayak Fishing Weekly. It's a great podcast.
And we break down, yeah, for sure. It's a great show. We break down stuff, more than we're gonna have time to do here, because I got to jump on another one at 9:30 Eastern time. But we don't really get into celebrity here. We don't get into KAS as much. So yeah, go check out that show. It's a good one. And I try to bring in some new elements to all the shows. Yeah, I showed some photos on his, I think on his episode, and some stuff that I didn't show in any of the other podcasts. So it was pretty cool. But Justin, I talked to Russ because I was curious. When I won this one, I knew it was my fifth Bassmaster Kayak Series title, my 10th national title. And I was like, man, I wonder, I obviously I pretty much know that was the most, but I just didn't know. There's Mr. Bass Raft Joey. What's up, Joey? But Russ said he has won the championship. Obviously, he won the championship. He won a chick, and still burns me up. I lost those two. Him and I were sharing water. That was a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun with Russ that trip. But then he won Clear Lake.
He won 2 last year, right?
He won Clear Lake, and then he won Eufaula. He said he's
exactly
won three Bassmaster Kayak Series tournaments, and I think there isn't anyone else. Am I wrong? But there's no one else that has even 2.
I don't think so. I
don't think so.
I mean, I would have to go back to the beginning.
Only won
I
the
don't think so.
I don't think there's anyone who's won 2.
Yep.
It's got to be.
So that's a good question. Is when I think about the top anglers in our sport right now, your name comes to mind. Russ Snyder. And Ewan Minor, which I think is, I
totally agree.
Ewan Minor doesn't get the credit. I mean, he's right up there with you guys.
Absolutely.
The one thing about Ewan Minor is he's so good on both deep water using electronics and shallow water and moving water. Like he's the best. He may not be as good as you, let's say, on shallow moving water, but he's better than most people. So I think that puts him right there. How do you rank yourself between, when you consider the top anglers in our sports right now?
I mean, that's kind of more for you guys to just debate, really. But I will say this. I think Ewing and Russ, you were spot on those. I mean, I would probably put Russ number 1. He's got 16 wins total, national. I've got 10. I don't know how many Ewing's got. We were talking about this on one of the podcasts. Someone needs to keep track of this stuff because it's a cool thing to keep track of. I think it might have been with Justin actually on that show. Like Ken Duke keeps records, but if no one's doing that, that's a cool thing to do. I love stats and records. It's kind of like for myself personally, but obviously I put it on my website. I need to update it with this latest win. If you go to drewgregory.com, you will see I have my tournament stats there because I want everyone's sponsors to see like these are my finishes, good or bad. Here they are. And I think I averaged 10th place out of 100 people. So I'm at, and maybe it went up a little. I think I'm still 10th place probably even after this last event. I fished around 60 something events. So if you all of a sudden if you get first out of 111, it doesn't change your average too much. But I'm pretty much at the 10 percentile. But what's different with me, I would say, is and by the way, Ewing is an incredible shallow water river fisherman as well. That's Virginia. He knows that stuff. So I'm not even going to say, I'm better than him or whatever. I know you said something like that, but I think he is just, dude is a stud. So he is right there. He may not, it's like me. I don't fish last year. Guess how many tournaments I fished? If you were to take a guess, how many did I fish last year? I won the Bassmaster Kayak Series Championship. But if you had to just take a random guess, what does it feel
I know
like?
you only fished 3 and you've done it before with the Hobie BOS. Mere mortals would have to fish about 10 tournaments to get 3 wins in a year.
Well, I fished 4.
Dustin's
in the comments. I fished 4 national events last year because I was running the Kayak Adventure Series, and the championship doesn't have AOI points, just the regular season, but ended up finishing 6th in AOI with just 3 events. But the point is, Jim Davis, that is a good question. Did Jim not win twice? I don't know. Maybe he did.
I don't know.
He might have.
It doesn't sound. I don't
because he
think
won the
so.
first one. But anyway, I feel like he might have won a lacrosse, but maybe not as well. Either way, the point is I don't fish as many, you know what I mean, as some of the folks out there that do, and that's no fault of theirs, but it's just hard to compare the two. You know, is it better to just to compare the averages of based on however many events I fish? You know what I'm saying? Like where I place on average, you know, like how many events until I get a win or whatever it takes me, however many events. Is it better to just look at that and say, well, if I would have fished more or as many as Russ fishes in a year, maybe 20 or whatever, or 15 or 16, you know, so he's got more wins, but he's fished more events. So I don't know. I can't, it's not his fault that I don't fish anymore. So who knows, right? If I could fish as many as him and not win again, but I don't know, man. It's hard to debate that stuff, but I think you're probably spot on. There's other anglers up there, you know, that maybe don't fish as many, Guillermo and Christine, and that are so good. You know, Nolan Miner, Bailey Eichbrett, when he goes out there, he usually smashes pretty good.
Bailey's underrated.
Jordan,
Bailey's really good.
There's a lot of really good anglers in our sport, and I'm missing some obvious ones. So I hate when I start naming names. Cody Milton doesn't fish anymore, but that dude's a stud.
The guy that came in second place for the AOY in 2022.
Oh, 20.
I think he's on the comments. Justin Larkin, right? He's pretty good dude,
Justin's
right?
Real good.
Really
he doesn't
good,
give himself enough credit. He doesn't, but he's really good. I reminded him of that in our episode actually. But you know, Cayman Rasmussen, Cody Henley, the guys out in the West Coast, Ryan Malowich, that guy is a hammer. You know, got second at the TOC, no matter how, you know, officially, and that's what it is. You know, so he's a stud, man.
Cody Milton.
Yeah, like I said, there's a lot of good anglers out there. We have a lot of good talent on the Kayak Adventure Series that's kind of popping up, you know. So, you know, we'll have to see what happens, but I'm gonna keep fishing. You know, I probably will do a little bit more this year. Maybe I'll get to fish 5 or 6 instead of 4. You know, that's a goal at least. But I'm going in with 1. Here's my idea, Armando. Tell me if this is crazy or not. But I'm going to do like I did with Havasu. I'm going into every Bassmaster Kayak Series event with just 1 day practice, if not even less, half day, just winging it. And
I mean, your style of fishing allows you to that, right? The fact that you are, like you mentioned, you're Derek pretty much like 90% of water you're canceled out because you're not going to fish it. So it's pretty
right.
I mean, you can't do that if you're fishing like deep water and looking for, you know, like ledges or I don't know, like a creek bed on 20-foot deep water in the middle of the lake. Yeah, you're not going to do it.
But most lakes, there's at least 3 or 4 good rivers or creeks that feed it. And then there's also a lot of good shallow backwater areas that I wish I had 3-4 days to explore them all. It would take that many days, but I'm just going to go with my gut, my intuition. I've done this long enough where, you know, map study, go to the tournament, see what it looks like and see what's good, back to, and then of course you saw what happened in the tournament, back to the next one, repeat. So now I feel like I'm better at figuring out right off the bat, which this tournament's a good example. The only place I fished in practice was right where I thought they were going to be. I had to like float the whole section and find them. And I knew they would be there somewhere and I found them. So I think I can have some decent success with just limited practice, but I do agree. Derek Brundle in the comments there.
Yes. Derek Brundle was about to say,
that's a good time to remind everyone of Casey Reed. Another just great angler. We got a lot of good sticks out there in the sport that are just crushing it. So we're missing
Derek
a lot
Brundle.
of people.
I almost forgot about Derek Brundle.
I just want to sit here and do the whole rest of the podcast listing all people so that I can make sure I get and think of everybody. But we've named a lot of them. So
I wanted to touch on this.
Jody Queen. Jody Queen. I got
Jody Queen. Yes, Jody Queen. Yeah, Jody Queen. Another one.
Yeah,
great on moving water as well.
So hey,
he won back-to-back on Susquehanna, I think, for the first 2 Hobie BOS.
He did.
Yeah.
Hey, someone right now is listening to this and they're fired up because they're a good angler and we're just not thinking about their name because this wasn't part of like something we pre-planned. I didn't have a list so I could just read off.
Yeah, I know. And get offended.
They are gonna, they're not gonna be offended, but they're gonna get fired up, and I love it because I remember at the beginning when I was doing this and I wasn't, you know, Drew Gregory that I am today, right? With all this stuff, I didn't have any of this, and I was like, I literally told my wife before I fished that Hobie BOS on Susquehanna, I said, Susquehanna, Dardanelle, didn't know anything about it, never fished it. But then in Coosa, I was like, I know I can never fish that lake on the Coosa River, but I know Alabama bass. I looked at her and I said, I can win the AOI. And, like I hadn't fished an event. All the events that happened, there'd been like 4 or 5. And, Russ and Jody were in the lead. And I was like, I didn't even fish one yet. And I was like, that's when I was just coming out with Crescent too. And I'd moved up to Ohio and COVID moved us all up here. And it was kind of a crazy time in my life, just having to move your entire family, sell a house and all that, on top of COVID. But I finally got back into it and fished. And before I was like, I really do feel like I could win this AOI. Somehow it happened with those last 3 events. But it fired me up every time, even after that, it was never talked about by anybody. Oh, he just does it up rivers and creeks, so that doesn't count. Like, what do you mean that doesn't count? What do you mean it doesn't count? It doesn't count when someone fishes in water that's eligible for them to fish. I remember that stuff. I pay attention. It fires you up. That if you're a competitor,
keep receipts, man. Keeps you going.
That's right. It keeps you going. People said, oh, all these rules that got changed, and it's gonna now Drew he's not gonna be able to do what he does. He can't just put in at the bridge and do all that. I'm like, oh really? Is that what you think? Think that's the only reason I'm winning, even though everybody else in the tournament could do the exact same thing, and they did put in all those random places and they were public, just like the KAS rules. It just keep saying what you want to say, and I'll just keep getting more fired up, from a competitor. I'm not angry or upset or anything about it ever. Of course, it's just like, I love it. It's good fuel.
Yeah, it gives you a chip on your shoulder kind of thing.
Yeah, for sure. It's like Tom Brady had a chip on his shoulder his entire career.
Michael Jordan, remember the Last Dance?
All those people.
Yeah, I love that documentary.
Never forget those things. But at the end of the day, what you guys know me, if you've ever stayed with me at an Airbnb or anywhere, it doesn't matter what happens. When I'm off the water and his line's out, it's not like you can play defense against Ewing or Russ or Christine. I can't go over there and like cut their line in the middle when they're fighting a fish. This isn't a sport where you can play defense. It's
not a contact sport, right?
There's no reason to be ticked off at people. And there's some people out there definitely take this like that, where they see us, they see each other and they're like, they're not friendly. They're pissed off at each other. They lost fish and you don't want to be around them at the house afterwards. You know what I mean? At the Airbnb, you don't want to be around that person. And they're just angry and furious. And I get it, but it's like spilled milk, man. You just can't cry over it. You might as well just not let it. It's already sucky enough to lose a fish that could have won, but it's worse to let it continue to ruin your day and your time here. We only have so much limited time on this earth. Why do you want to let it really ruin your day or week? So I still have fun off the water, win, lose, last place, first place. Let's just have fun and fellowship. So anyway, Brian Howe's a good stick. Yeah.
Brian Howe, Matthew Scott.
Both. Oh God, Matt is a real hammer. Gene Jensen.
And another one that basically just very, I mean, I think he has a fish finder, but most of the time he doesn't even use it. So another one of those anglers that proves that you don't need electronics. I think in our sport, it's still more advantageous to not use forward-facing sonar than to use it, just because for the most of us who are fishing it, we're still not good enough with that technology. I mean, the elites, the boat guys, they live and breathe those things. New generation of kids coming up, college kids.
Yeah,
they and for our sports, I mean, you and Minor, Rolando Nandin, they're great at it. There's a handful of people that are just so good at it that yes, for them it becomes an advantage, but for the other 40 people on a single tournament that are using forward-facing sonar, I feel like a lot of them are shooting themselves in the foot by forcing themselves to try to use this technology, which they spend $5,000 on.
Right.
I still think that in our sports, you can definitely win AOIs, you can definitely win tournaments, you can definitely catch checks without the use of forward-facing sonar, even fish finders. And you've proven that. Jordan Marshall has proven that in the past.
Yeah, for sure. What about Anthony Garcia or Brandon Hua? You get West Coast guys that are really good. They've got some hammers there. Ryan Parker won the AOI for Kayak Adventure Series, and the guy won a couple events. He was second at Broodstock, the finale. I mean, dude, that guy is a hammer. He's got the shallow water stuff figured out too. So Lance Cooley, this guy, Jeffrey Rabbit out there, he's great angler over there in Pennsylvania. So
a lot of great anglers in the Northeast. So let me ask you this, because you touched on it a little bit about people commenting. Now, I've never doubted you, and I even mentioned it on the podcast. So the year following the rule changes, I kept close tabs on how you were doing, not because I wanted to see you fail, but I wanted to see what was going to be your response on the water. Were we going to see a dominant Drew Gregory, or was Drew Gregory all of a sudden going to fade out of his name being mentioned in the top? Now, you can correct me if I'm wrong. And again, I view it from an objective standpoint, from a fan, from the sports. I love sports. I love, American mentality of looking at stats and, judging greatness by numbers, which is not always the most accurate way. But going back to that, I remember the Bassmaster Kayak Championship followed with the new rule set. I think you were 2 fish short of a limit, which it was. I know you're not always gonna win, but to not get a limit was unheard of. And I think there was another tournament that you didn't get a limit. So my question is, was there a learning curve with the new rules? Because I noticed you weren't as dominant with the new rules at the beginning, but obviously you're coming back to yourself. And when I say, let me correct this, when I say you're not being as dominant, you still were being one of the best. You weren't at the top like we're used to. Like you're kind of like a victim of your own greatness. So you were still doing great, but not in the same level. Was there an adjustment period with the new rule changes?
What year was that? That would have been 2023. So
2023, yeah.
So I didn't get a limit at the Bassmaster Championship the final day on Chickamauga. That's when Russ and I were sharing the water and he won.
Yeah.
And I literally, this is how close this sport is. So I'm not on the stage. I don't get a limit. I was still a good finish, because it was tough. But I literally had the winning fish on like twice. Right, Russ was right near me. I had it on twice. So I landed on a spinnerbait of all things twice. Usually land fish on spinnerbaits, you don't miss them, right?
Yeah.
It was murky water. They hit it. I had them on 2 of fish. So you see a big 0 there on that 5th fish, right? There's a 0. There is no 5th. But literally that should be a 21, 22, whatever, right? And I win. I beat Russ. I mean, the whole thing changes with just one fish that didn't get in the boat. I mean, the hardest part's getting them to bite, right? Usually if you get them to bite, they come in the boat 90% of the time. Probably 10% they get off. Maybe 95% of the time. So it's crazy. It's just
like
how it
50% for me, but go ahead.
Yeah. But you see what I'm saying, dude? Like you're like, oh yeah, the new rules. Yeah, but I had I feel like I should have probably won that event. You know what I mean? But that's that everyone loses fish. So it happens. So anyway, you can't really say that, but the new rules didn't affect me, but on the leaderboard, it may have looked like it did, if that made sense. Now, would I've got a limit? If I had the old rules, could I have made a change and gone somewhere and like dropped in somewhere quick at another spot that I found that was easy just to plop in, whatever, in some roadside kayak launch or bridge or something? Yeah, maybe. So it probably did hurt me in not getting a limit because I may have made that choice. But there's Jake who went with me out to Arizona. What's up, Jake? So the other question was, the other one, I know on the Hobie BOS, I wasn't even supposed to be at another one I didn't get a limit. I don't think was probably, maybe I did. I don't remember, but I know it was very hard for me at the TOC because I'm a paddler and I do have to put in somewhere those little places that were the bridges here, the kayak launch here, public access that, like on any given Saturday or Sunday you can launch from. So, and we always did until the rule changes, but which I still don't like get it because I mean, no one's checking us in anyway. So if people were ever launching off somebody's private property, they still are. We don't know because no one's checking us into these places. You can click check in on TourneyX at the boat ramp that's designated and go drive wherever you feel like driving and put in. You could cheat that way. So it didn't really solve anything in my opinion, really, but it doesn't matter. I mean, I like different rule sets and formats, and KS has theirs and Bassmaster has theirs. And now it did force me to get a Torpedo, get them into the motor game because I was winning all that stuff without fish finders. Like earlier, who was that up there that had that first comment? Lawrence Martinez. Said, I was winning them without fish finders and motors. It was just a paddle for all those first years from 2019 all the way to, 2023, basically till the start of 23. Never even used a motor except for maybe the KBF National Championship when Mike Elsey won in 2019. I did use a motor guide on that one, but other than that, I was just paddling. And so it forced me to get the Torpedo, and the Torpedo now can help me get away far enough to where I can still fish in my style and get, find some fish that are up shallow and backwaters and stuff. So it took a couple events to kind of dial that in, and it didn't take long though to kind of figure it out. But
no, not at all. Does it? How do you feel now that getting back on the winning ways and all that? Like we mentioned, you had that chip on your shoulder. You heard the comments. You saw the post. You listened to podcasts. Now that you're like, okay, I'm back, baby. How does that feel? Like, is there any? I know you do it for yourself and you're happy for yourself, but is there any part of you that says, take that?
Oh, I mean, sure, there's that little bit of motivation and stuff that people. I mean, it's like going to Havasu, just kind of hearing. And again, it's all in good fun, totally good fun. I freaking love the West Coast boys. There's definitely some people out there in Arizona that I heard rumors that saying that, when they saw that I signed up that, oh man, out West, he's going to not be able to do what he does out here. It doesn't work that way out here. And, it kind of feels good, obviously, to prove that, I can find him out there. A bass is a bass is a bass. And I have proven I understand the fish. I'm a nerd about it. I love the environment, the world that we've got here, this planet, and how it, from a 30,000 foot view, I kind of can figure out where they're going to be in a very small spot. I'm like, I know, because I've studied the fish so long and the whole environment around them and the environmental factors and why they are where they are. I don't just, some people may just catch fish, but it matters to me why the fish is there. Right. And I've always been a big studier of that. So it definitely feels good to prove anybody wrong if they have doubts or whatever, but it's not like my 100% driving factor, but any competitor of any sport, football, we got the Super Bowl coming up, the championships, it's the same thing. If you're a competitor, you're going to always have a little bit of like that feeling like, yeah, I got them. And they didn't think I could. And it was, proved them wrong. Just, it will feel good, but it can't be all you're doing it for. Of course it can't be. I just love to catch the fish, man. Just forget tournaments, forget all this stuff. It's just, I love the challenge of figuring out where they're at and then trying to see where I stack up, No,
and congratulations again. If anybody has anything to say, just look at the background on your video right now. But it is fun to that you mentioned about the scientific approach that you have. If I ever, and we maybe have to do a podcast, it'll probably be like 3 hours long. But you and I've had conversations on the phone about the breakdown of how you catch fish and the species and all that. And I'm always in awe in your knowledge. And I think that's one of the things that people don't appreciate. People think, oh, it's just he's fishing on skinny waters. If anybody has the privilege to talk to you like I have, and they would understand, I mean, your knowledge of the science behind even on subspecies of bass is mind-boggling.
I've caught them
that
all.
To me, more than anything, is what separates you from the pack.
Yeah, I mean, I've caught all the subspecies, all the species. I just kind of know how the rivers, the lakes all work together, the environment, the wind direction, whether the water clarity, the shallow water, deep water, what happens, clear, stain, whatever, all of it. I kind of just, I know, like you said, those species have helped me. I mean, just knowing and understanding there's a smallmouth bass strain called the Neosho helped me understand.
I remember I remember when you told me about that the first time.
That's right. So
we had a 3-hour conversation about a subspecies of bass I've never even heard of.
So people that maybe were fishing Grand Lake that year might have thought, oh, there's smallmouth up these rivers. Let me just keep going. Eventually I'm going to catch a 20 or 19 or 17, but it's very hard to catch even a 17 of that species that they're pretty small. So you'd been wasting your time. And I knew that. So that's why I ended up on the main lake, catching them in a spawning pattern for largemouth and how I won that, that event. But, and I'm not saying anyone did waste their time doing that, but that's just one example of understanding all the species and everything. So you can just, it all will play. It all plays, man. I'm telling you, understanding that, the different bottoms and if they get warmer or cooler and wind, that would matter to a fish. And just, I mean, even this event, I was fishing a Western bank, it was protected by the wind. So it was able to warm more. And unlike most people thinking the winter, you got to go deep, because in a lake, you probably need to, most of the time, or a lot of the fish are deep because they drop below the thermocline and get a little bit warmer. And, I know people were catching giant smallmouth in 25, 30 feet deep, but it didn't pan out in tournament day. But I actually use the opposite. I'm using 3/8 ounce of light bait. I'm going super shallow on that west bank on a flat. The whole west bank it was kind of like pretty shallow out for like 30 yards, and I did it intentionally. I knew they were going to be somewhere sunning themselves because smallmouth do use flats a lot, and that's going to get the shallow water is going to be the warmer water in a river because there's no thermocline. It's actually going to be warmer than the deeper water. It's not really a true thermocline, but it's not getting the sun down deep, so it is cooler. And you go in to see those deep 30-foot holes, and you can see all the way down 20, 30-foot holes in that Colorado River. There was nothing there. I mean, just lifeless. I mean, there weren't many fish to begin with, but where they were was super shallow. Majority all on the west bank, getting the sun from the east sunlight coming up, when it rose, getting that sun, protected by the wind, so it warms up even more because choppy water doesn't warm as much as calm water, right? So wind protection was key, and there they were. I just had to find them, and I was able to do it, and somehow the hardest part was catching them in that clear water. But anyway, so
you have to go to another podcast.
Yeah, I do have to run.
You have to run, but Daniel,
I love this podcast. Yeah, what you got?
Daniel had a question. Daniel, he has to run to another podcast. Oh, yeah. So, but Daniel, take that as your answer for your question. His question was, what some pointers you can give to anglers viewing aerial maps to locate bass?
Hey, I can answer.
I think you answered that pretty well.
I did, but Google Earth Pro is your friend. Yeah. Click on history, get drawdown images. Omnia Pro app is a no-brainer because it gives you free shipping at Omnia Fishing anyway, and you can actually use your 2 fingers on the phone and you can see elevation 3D. So I could tell, because Google Maps or whatever won't really show that as well. I could tell the gorge how high the bluffs and stuff were. You can see all that. And I could see where I was fishing in Havasu, and that river leading into Lake Havasu and the Topot Gorge was just flat, was just ugly compared to everything else downstream of that lake. And that's why I chose it, because it was ugly, and I figured I would have the fish hopefully all to myself if I could just find them. And fortunately I was able to. But those 2 apps are a good place to start. A third one is Farwide. Farwide's app's good for finding private property, public property. Clicking on the actual rivers and creeks in the app, the little pointer finger will pop up when you put right over the blue line of a creek, and you can click on it. And a river, it'll tell you the name of the river, how long it is. And that's hard to find sometimes on Google Maps. What's the name of that river? How many river miles is it, or creek miles? And if a creek has 25 miles of watershed drainage, you kind of have to add up a lot of those small little blue lines, right? The small creeks that feed that creek or river. But if it gets about 25 miles, it's usually fishable by at least that last few miles, 5 miles leading into the lake. So once you find one that's 35, 40, 50 miles long, you got a pretty good chunk of 15, 20 miles of good fishable creek that could have fish that might matter in a tournament. So those are just a few tips. Joe McElroy, what's up, Mr. Joe? Shuttle Joe. Hopefully he made it back safely. He brought my kayak all the way out to Arizona. What a cool story. You guys can go listen to the other podcasts to get more about Havasu. Armando, I love that we talked about different stuff. This wasn't just me recapping the event and showing the videos, because that's been done, a lot. And look forward to being on here with you again and seeing you guys at any Kayak Adventure Series events this year.
Definitely on Paris Fest, man.
Yeah,
Paris Reel Fest?
Paris Reel Fest. Because you're going to be reeling them in, dude. It's the Reel Fest. Just reeling nonstop. And we're going to be
I'll let you go do it, and I'll close up the
theater reel. It's a play on words. Anyway. See you, buddy.
It's good. It's good.
All right. Later.
I'll let you go, buddy. I know you got another podcast, so I'll close up the show. Take care.
All right. Later.
All right, everybody. Thank you for tuning in. We do appreciate it. Does have to record another podcast, so we have to let him go early. But I want to thank everybody that put up the questions. Remember, you can follow us on social media, Bass Kayak and Beers, YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram. If you missed the beginning of the show, I did post a new video on our YouTube channel. It's a 7-minute video breaking down when is it that you should horse in your fish to your kayak before you lose it, and when is the best time to actually be patient and but work your fish patiently, tire them out, and get them on the kayak. A lot of us have that mentality of like, you want to tire your fish before you get to the boat. That's for most of the time, but there are situations where you're better off getting that fish quickly to your boat. So go check out that video if you want. Give it a like, subscribe to our channel. Thank you so much for tuning us in, and hope you have a great weekend. If you're going to fish, please wear your PFDs and tight lines, everyone. Peace out.